Welcome to Read Alchemy. Today, I want you to imagine a very normal morning. You are on your way to work, you are a little tired, and all you want is a good cup of coffee. That was exactly how I felt that morning. I had left home a little later than usual, so I was walking quickly. I hadn't had breakfast yet. I looked at my phone. I still had about 20 minutes before work. There was a small cafe near the office. I had passed it many times, but I had never gone inside. That morning, I decided to stop. I opened the door and walked in. The cafe was busy. There were several people standing in line. Some customers were waiting for their drinks. Others were sitting at small tables near the window. I joined the line and looked at the menu. There were many choices. Coffee, tea, juice, sandwiches. I wasn't sure what to order. A menu is a list of food and drinks that a restaurant or cafe offers. I looked at the different coffee sizes. Small, medium, large. Then I saw something called a cappuccino. I had heard the word before, but I wasn't sure what was in it. When I reached the counter, the employee smiled. "Good morning. What can I get for you?" I looked at the menu one more time. "Can I get a medium cappuccino, please?" "Sure. Would you like it hot or iced?" I paused. I knew the word iced, but I wanted a hot drink. "Hot, please. Would you like milk?" I thought that was a strange question because I thought a cappuccino already had milk, but I wasn't completely sure. "Yes, please. And would you like sugar?" "Yes, 1 sugar, please." She entered the order into the computer. "Anything else?" I looked at the food. There were sandwiches and cakes. I was hungry, but I was already late. "No, that's all, thank you." "That's all" is a very useful expression when you don't want anything else. For example, if someone asks, "Anything else?" you can simply say, "That's all, thank you." The employee gave me a receipt, and "That will be $4. I paid and took the receipt. "Thank you." "You're welcome." I moved away from the counter. There were no empty tables, so I stood near the window. I checked the receipt. It said, "Medium cappuccino, hot, 1 sugar." Everything looked correct. I felt relieved. I was already imagining that first warm sip of coffee. While I waited, I looked around the cafe. A man near me was reading a newspaper. 2 women were talking quietly at a table. Someone was typing on a laptop. The cafe smelled wonderful. I checked the time again. I still had about 10 minutes. Good, I thought. Then I heard someone call my name. I looked toward the counter. "Daniel?" That was me. I walked over. The employee handed me a cup. "Here you go. Thank you." I took the cup and walked back toward the window. The cup felt warm in my hands. I looked at it. It looked exactly like the coffee I had ordered. I smiled. Finally. I took the first sip. And immediately, something felt strange. I looked at the cup again. I took another sip. Then I looked at the receipt in my hand. Something wasn't right. This didn't taste like a cappuccino, and I was almost certain that I hadn't ordered this drink. I looked toward the counter. The employee was helping another customer. I looked at my watch. I was already running late. For a moment, I thought about just drinking it and leaving. But then I looked at the cup again. I knew I had to say something. I picked up the receipt. I walked back toward the counter, and as I got closer, I tried to find the right words. Let's take a moment to notice some useful English from the story. Order means the food or drink you ask for at a restaurant or cafe. I'd like to order a coffee. Counter is the place where you order or pay. Receipt is the small piece of paper showing what you bought and how much you paid. Busy means there are many people or activities happening. The cafe is busy this morning. Iced means served cold, usually with ice. I'd like an iced coffee. And anything else is a common way to ask if someone wants something more. You can answer, "That's all, thank you." Now let's naturally practice some expressions from the situation. "Can I get a medium cappuccino, please?" "Hot, please." "Yes, 1 sugar, please." "That's all, thank you." "How much is it?" "Thank you." "You're welcome." These are simple sentences, but they are extremely useful in real life. Now imagine yourself standing at the counter. The cafe is busy. People are waiting behind you. You don't need complicated English. You can simply say, "Can I get a coffee, please? Hot, please." That's all, thank you. That's enough. I wish I had remembered that when I first walked into the cafe. Because a few seconds later, I was standing at the counter with my receipt in my hand. And I was about to tell the employee that something was wrong with my order. I walked back to the counter with the cup in my hand. The employee looked at me. "Is everything okay?" I smiled politely. "Excuse me, I think there's a mistake." She looked concerned. "A mistake?" "Yes, I ordered a cappuccino." She looked at the cup. "Isn't this a cappuccino?" I took another look. "I don't think so." She picked up the cup and checked the label, then she looked at the computer. "Could I see your receipt?" "Sure." I handed it to her. She read it carefully. "Medium cappuccino, hot, 1 sugar." "Yes, that's what I ordered." She looked at the cup again, then she smiled. "I'm sorry, I think we gave you the wrong drink." I felt relieved. At least I wasn't imagining things. "That's okay," I said. "Could you make my coffee again, please?" "Of course, I'm really sorry about that." "No problem." She took the cup from me, then she asked, "Would you like the same order?" "Yes, please." "Medium cappuccino, hot, 1 sugar." Exactly. She entered the order again. Then she gave me a small number. "Your new order will be ready in a few minutes." "Thank you." I moved away from the counter. This time, I didn't sit down. I stood near the pickup area and watched the employees preparing drinks. I wasn't angry, mistakes happen, but I was a little worried about the time. I checked my phone. I had only 5 minutes before I needed to leave for work. I looked toward the counter. The employee was making several drinks at the same time. There were cups everywhere. People were waiting. The cafe had become even busier. I thought about leaving without my coffee. But then I remembered that I had paid for it, so I decided to wait. A few minutes later, another employee called out, "Medium cappuccino." I looked up. That sounded like my order. I walked toward the counter. "Is that mine?" The employee checked the number on my receipt. "Yes." He handed me the cup. "Here you go." "Thank you." I looked at the cup carefully. It looked right this time. I took a small sip. It was hot. It tasted like coffee, and it had the right amount of sugar. Finally, I smiled. "That's exactly what I ordered." The employee smiled. "Great." I thanked him and walked toward the door. Then I stopped. I looked at the time. I was late, very late. I quickly put the coffee in the cup holder on my bag and walked outside. As I hurried toward work, I thought about what had happened. It had been a very small problem, but it had taught me something useful. When something is wrong, you don't have to be rude. You can explain the problem politely. You can say, "Excuse me, I think there's a mistake." Or, "I think this isn't what I ordered." Or, "Could you check my order, please?" These sentences are useful because they are polite and clear. You don't need to say, "This is wrong." That can sound too direct or angry. Instead, you can say, "I think there's a mistake." The meaning is almost the same, but the tone is much softer. Tone means the way something sounds or feels when you say it. For example, the sentence "that's wrong" can sound strong, but "I think there might be a mistake" sounds more polite. This is important when speaking English in real situations. You don't only need the right words, you also need the right way to say them. As I continued walking, I realized that I was learning another useful skill. I was learning how to solve a small problem in English. First, I explained the problem. Then, I showed my receipt. Then, I confirmed what I had ordered. Finally, I thanked the employee. It was simple, but it was real communication. Let's look at some useful vocabulary from what just happened. Mistake means something that is not correct. I made a mistake. There was a mistake with my order. Wrong means not correct or not the one you wanted. This is the wrong drink. Receipt is the paper showing your purchase. Confirm means to check or say that something is correct. For example, "I want to confirm my order." Polite means having good manners and showing respect. Direct means saying something clearly without using softer language. and tone is the way your words sound when you speak. Now let's practice some useful expressions. Excuse me, I think there's a mistake. I think this isn't what I ordered. Could you check my order, please? Could you make it again? I'd like the same order, please. Yes, that's correct. That's exactly what I ordered. Thank you for your help. Now shadow them naturally. Excuse me, I think there's a mistake. I think this isn't what I ordered. Could you check my order, please? Could you make it again? I'd like the same order, please. Yes, that's correct. That's exactly what I ordered. Thank you for your help. Good. These expressions aren't only useful in cafes. You can use them in restaurants. You can use them in shops. You can use them when someone gives you the wrong item. You can even use similar expressions at work. For example, I think there's a mistake in this document. Could you check this for me? I think this isn't the file I needed. The important thing is to stay calm and explain clearly. I finally reached my office. I sat down at my desk and looked at my coffee. I took another sip. It was good. I smiled. At least one thing had gone right that morning. Then my phone rang. It was my friend Daniel. Are you at work? Yes. Did you get your coffee? I laughed. Eventually. What happened? I looked at the coffee in my hand. It's a long story. And somehow, I had a feeling the coffee story wasn't finished yet. I put my coffee on my desk and looked at my computer. I had only a few minutes before my first meeting. I opened my laptop and started checking my emails. Then I noticed something. There was a message from my manager. He wanted me to bring some documents to the meeting. I looked through my files. I couldn't find them. I checked the folder again. Nothing. I started to worry. Not another problem, I thought. I searched through my computer. Then I remembered that I had saved the documents in a different folder. I found them. Okay, I said quietly. One problem solved. I printed the documents and walked toward the meeting room. As I walked, I took a sip of my coffee. Then I stopped. I looked at the cup. I suddenly remembered the cafe. I had been so focused on getting to work that I had forgotten something. I had left my original receipt at the cafe. It wasn't important, but I started thinking about how easily small things can become confusing when you're in a hurry. Hurry means moving or doing something quickly because you don't have much time. For example, I'm in a hurry. I was in a hurry this morning. Don't hurry, we have plenty of time. I entered the meeting room. My manager was already there. Good morning. Good morning. He looked at the documents in my hand. Did you bring the customer report? Yes, here it is. Great. The meeting started. Everything was going well. Then my manager asked me a question. Can you explain this number? I looked at the document. I knew what the number meant, but I couldn't remember the exact English word I wanted to use. For a second, I felt nervous. Then I remembered what I had learned from situations like this. I didn't need the perfect word. I could explain the idea another way. I said, "This number shows how many customers we had last month." My manager nodded. Right. I felt relieved. I had communicated the idea without using difficult vocabulary. That made me think about my coffee order again. At the cafe, I hadn't needed complicated English either. I had simply explained what was wrong. I had said what I wanted, and the employee had understood me. The same thing was happening now. English didn't have to be perfect. It just had to be clear. After the meeting, I returned to my desk. My coworker Sarah walked over. How was the meeting? It went well. Good. She looked at the coffee on my desk. Is that the coffee from the new cafe? Yes. Is it good? I laughed. Now it is. She looked confused. What happened? I told her the whole story. I explained how I ordered a medium cappuccino, then I explained how I received the wrong drink. Sarah laughed. Did you tell them? Yes. Were you nervous? A little. She smiled. You handled it well. Handled means dealt with or managed a situation. For example, she handled the problem very well. I didn't know how to handle the situation. I liked that word. It described exactly what I had done. I hadn't avoided the problem. I had handled it. Then Sarah said something that made me think. You know, these small situations are actually good practice. What do you mean? Everyday problems give you a reason to speak. She was right. When everything goes perfectly, you don't need many words. You order your coffee, you pay, you leave. But when something goes wrong, you have to explain, you have to ask questions, you have to listen, you have to respond. And that is real communication. I looked at my coffee. Maybe the wrong order wasn't such a bad thing after all. It had forced me to use English, and I had done it. I hadn't used perfect English, but I had communicated. Let's look at some useful vocabulary from this part of the story. Hurry means doing something quickly because you don't have much time. Folder is a place where you keep documents or computer files. Report is a document that gives information about something. Explain means to make something clear. Communicate means to share information or ideas with another person. Handle means to deal with a situation or problem. Clear means easy to understand. And respond means to answer or react to something. Now let's practice some useful expressions. I'm in a hurry. I can't find the file. Let me check. I found it. Can you explain this? This number shows. I understand. It went well. I handled the problem. Now shadow them naturally. I'm in a hurry. I can't find the file. Let me check. I found it. Can you explain this? This number shows how many customers we had. I understand. It went well. I handled the problem. Good. These expressions are useful because they can appear in many parts of your daily life. You can use them at work. You can use them at a cafe. You can use them while shopping. You can use them when traveling. The situation changes. The English stays useful. Later that afternoon, I finished my work. I picked up my coffee and took the last sip. I smiled. The morning had started badly. First, I was late. Then my coffee order was wrong. Then I couldn't find an important document, but none of these problems had been impossible. I had simply dealt with them one at a time. And as I packed my bag, I realized something. Maybe speaking English confidently isn't about never having problems. Maybe it's about knowing what to say when problems happen. I picked up my phone. Daniel had sent me a message. It said, "So, did the coffee survive?" I laughed. I typed back, "Yes," and this time I got the right one. Then I put my phone away and left the office. I thought the coffee story was finally over. But the next morning, when I walked past that same cafe, I noticed something in the window, and it made me stop. The next morning, I was walking to work when I passed the same cafe. I slowed down. There was something in the window that caught my attention. It was a small sign. Free coffee for our first 20 customers. I smiled. I thought about my coffee from the previous day. Then I decided to go inside. The cafe wasn't very busy this time. I walked toward the counter. The same employee was working there. She recognized me immediately. "Hey, you're the cappuccino guy." I laughed. "Yes, that's me. How was your coffee yesterday?" I smiled. "It was good. The second one was perfect." She laughed. "I'm glad to hear that. I'm sorry again about the mistake." "No problem, it happens." She looked at me. "Would you like the same order today?" I thought for a second. "Yes, please, a medium cappuccino hot with 1 sugar." She entered the order, then she looked at me. "Anything else?" I smiled. "That's all, thank you." This time, I felt completely comfortable. I knew exactly what to say. I paid for the coffee and waited. A few minutes later, she called my name. "Medium cappuccino." I walked toward the counter. She handed me the cup. "Here you go." I checked the label. Medium, cappuccino, hot, 1 sugar, everything was correct. I smiled. "Perfect, thank you." I took my coffee and walked toward the door. Before leaving, I turned around. "Have a good day." "You too." I walked outside. As I continued toward work, I thought about the 2 mornings. Yesterday, I had been nervous about telling someone that my order was wrong. Today, I had no problem speaking. The situation was simple, but I realized something important. Confidence doesn't always come from learning more words. Sometimes it comes from using the words you already know. Yesterday, I knew how to say, "I think there's a mistake. Could you check my order? Could you make it again?" Those sentences were enough. I didn't need difficult vocabulary. I didn't need perfect grammar. I just needed to communicate clearly. And that is something you can do too. Imagine you're in a cafe, you want a coffee. You can say, "Can I get a medium coffee, please?" If you want milk, "Could I have some milk, please?" If you want sugar, "1 sugar, please." If they give you the wrong drink, "Excuse me, I think there's a mistake." If you don't understand something, "Could you explain that?" If everything is correct, "That's exactly what I ordered." And when you leave, "Thank you, have a good day." These are simple expressions, but they are powerful because you can actually use them. Let's look back at some vocabulary from our story. Recognize means to know someone because you have seen them before. She recognized me from yesterday. Perfect means exactly right or without a problem. The coffee was perfect. Mistake means something that is incorrect. There was a mistake with my order. Comfortable means relaxed and not nervous. I feel comfortable speaking English. Confident means feeling sure about your ability. I'm becoming more confident. Communicate means to share information or ideas, and exactly means completely or precisely. That's exactly what I ordered. Now let's bring the useful expressions together naturally. Can I get a medium cappuccino, please? Hot, please. 1 sugar, please. That's all, thank you. Excuse me, I think there's a mistake. Could you check my order, please? This isn't what I ordered. Could you make it again? That's exactly what I ordered. Thank you for your help, have a good day. Now shadow them naturally. Can I get a medium cappuccino, please? Hot, please. 1 sugar, please. That's all, thank you. Excuse me, I think there's a mistake. Could you check my order, please? This isn't what I ordered. Could you make it again? That's exactly what I ordered. Thank you for your help. Have a good day. Excellent. Think about what happened in the story. I walked into a cafe. I ordered a coffee. The order went wrong. I had to explain the problem. The employee checked the order. We fixed the mistake. And the next morning, I came back and ordered the same coffee again. Nothing dramatic happened, but I learned something useful. Real English isn't only about having conversations about interesting topics. Sometimes, real English is simply knowing what to say when you need something. You need a coffee, you ask for it. Something goes wrong, you explain it. Someone helps you, you thank them. That's communication. And that's the kind of English you can practice every day. You don't need to wait for a special situation. You can practice while imagining yourself ordering coffee. You can practice while shopping. You can practice while asking for directions. You can practice while talking about your work. The important thing is to use the language. Because the more you use English in real situations, the more natural it becomes. And the next time something goes wrong, don't panic, take a breath. Think about what you want to say. Then say it simply. You don't need perfect English. You need useful English. And sometimes all you need is one simple sentence. Excuse me, I think there's a mistake. That one sentence can start a conversation, solve a problem, and give you a little more confidence. Thank you for learning with me today. Keep listening, keep practicing. And the next time you order a coffee, check the cup before you take that first sip.